You got to be some like NASA scientist with some supercomputer, quantum computing these outcomes. Yeah. I will actually put Tundra with Saksa stand in for it.
All right, Avery, you and I are just about to fly to Copenhagen. In fact, some of the analysts, some of the other talent have already arrived in Copenhagen, are preparing for the first day of TI. Are you excited?
Oh, yeah. I already see the messages. Pyrian Flax already getting absolutely blasted at the hotel bar.
True.
That is a good sign of things to come. You know, anytime Ted's getting wasted as hell before the tournament even begins, I'm looking forward to it. So fly out in a few days.
Slack's messages looks like he's wasted, but totally sober. Yeah.
Another classic.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like everybody's there but us. So we will be the last to arrive, the last chariot into the arena, so to say. Right. The most important for last.
Save the best for last. That's exactly how it goes. So we're going to be watching the TI group stage alongside you guys. So we're not actually going to be casting it. Though I think we'll be in Copenhagen by that point in time. We'll just be watching in the hotel rooms, be in the chat with you guys. This episode is sponsored by Gambit Finance, which is a website that you can go and join and play for the international. You can go ahead and pick up players and trade players and play a little mini game while you're watching the international games. If you guys want to check that out, it's Gambit.finance. You can check that out. We've got a video to actually be able to explain a little bit about the site and how to play.
Imagine playing in a game that you love against highly skilled players that are always winning against you. Wouldn't it be great if you could get a share of the upside of their skills or talent? With Skillfy, you can now own a part of the gamer's journey by choosing to be a patron of the gamer you like. An average gamer that is skilled earns a significant amount from games that they play and farm. As an early patron of these high-potential gamers, you get to share the upside with them. It's simple. Use our platform to spot an early rising star. Purchase bits from them. And now you have a stake in their earnings from every game. Watch your favorite gamers grow while you also earn.
Gambit. Trade gamers. Earn rewards.
So we're going to take a look at some of the players for this TI, and specifically the Tundra players. And I mean, if you were to rate, Avery, the players on Tundra 1 to 5, who's the most valuable player on Tundra? Just purely as a player, no social media, nothing.
On the open market. That's what you're asking on the open market?
On the open market, yes.
I think it's between Pure and Topson. That's what I think.
You actually think that? So for me, it's automatically Pure. But you think Topson actually
automatically?
Yeah, automatically. I think Pure's
why automatically?
I think Pure is like top 3 carries in the world right now. I think he's also a captain sort. So I think his performance, he is what Okay. Maybe he's not the person who determines how far Tundra goes, because I think he is incredibly consistent. Maybe it's Topson's pop-off performance that is going to be required to get, Tundra to a top 3 position at TI. But Pure is what gets them into top 8 automatically, in my head.
See, the problem is you're arguing for a player that has never won a LAN versus a 2-time TI champion. Yeah. So there's something there. Right?
I mean, it's all about the eye test for me, what I see.
Okay, but on the open market, if you're a team looking to pick somebody up, how valuable is a player? I could buy an argument that would you rather build around Pure +4 or Topson +4? I could listen to an argument that you rather have Pure, right? Okay. Depending on if the pool of mid players is a bit deeper than the pool of carry players, if that's your argument, I might be able to accept that a little.
Okay.
I think it's easier to find a mid with potential than a carry with potential, if that makes sense.
Okay. What about from a stats perspective? Because Topson has some high's and he has some lows.
Yeah, that's it. You are convincing me. I think
Pure is Pure's going to give you. He's going to give you value.
It might be Pure right now. Yeah, it might be. I feel like his ceiling's incredibly high. I think that's always been the case. his floor can also be pretty low. You know, like there's those occasional pure games you're just like, he did nothing in this game. Like I remember a Wind Ranger game at EWC and stuff, right? It was just, this is like, what the hell went wrong in this draft or idea or whatever. But again, he's pretty young. He's not the most experienced captain wise. So like there's a lot of potential, a lot of room to grow. I don't think anybody has doubted his mechanical ability or his decision making or anything like that. He almost reminds me of like, I don't want to call him a Eternal Envy type player because I don't think that's his play style, but he reminds me of like a young EE where it's like that range of the very high and the very low is very large. And you don't know what you're going to get at any given time, you know? It kind of reminds me of that a little, but he's still a very good player. So you're willing to take that risk. I can buy that. I can buy that Pure is the most valuable player on Tundra right now.
So what would you say if on this platform, Pure is the second cheapest player to trade in this platform? That sounds like value to me. I mean, if you think he's first or second most important player from the stats perspective, he is value. That sounds like Pure is mega value.
Yeah, I'd actually agree. He's valued the same. You know, if you're going to value him like the same as Whitemon or something, which no disrespect to Whitemon, he's a great player. But like Pure has got to be a top 5 carry of the tournament, right? Going in.
Yeah.
Like who's even above him? I mean, obviously you have, I guess you can make an argument, Yatoro, Duraccio, Mickey, Ame, question mark. I don't know about that one. I'm going to get hate if I don't say him, but like, I don't know. So maybe there's 4 or 5 you could put above him, but honestly, I feel like I would have Yatoro, Duraccio, Pure, I think in the top 3.
Yeah, I think so too. And in which case, Pure being almost half the cost of Topson. That's
right. That's a big difference. It's a big difference.
That's a big difference. Topson, of course, one of the most valuable players on. I mean, that man has a lot of fans. Anybody who has a lot of fans is going to have some probably overinflated numbers and probably be too expensive for that sort of thing. But all right, well, I guess we got your first and second. Who's the third most valuable player on Tundra? It's not 9 class.
Well, in my opinion, or how the market's evaluating it right now. You know,
well, the opinion that he's not going to be at this TI.
Yeah, that also hurts. Very unfortunate. I actually think he is the next most important in terms of how they play. Like, sure. I think that team needs a big playmaking 4, right? And in the games where it falls flat, you just don't have that guy to like back up Topson and whatever. So I think that is a big component, and I would put him there. I think he's done work for the team. Luckily, they got a world-class replacement. I mean, you can't really ask for anything better in Saksa. So we'll see how that changes their play style. Obviously, him and Ramsey's had some beef back in the day, and maybe they'll settle that beef. Maybe they won't. Maybe they'll just pull the old like Chinese TI run where they fist fight each other until they lift an Aegis. That would be pretty cool to see. I'd be for that.
Yeah. All right, so we'll talk about Saksa. Saksa, unfortunately, for those of you guys who haven't heard about this, 9 class is could not secure a visa to TI. My understanding is that any Russians that are trying to get a visa to get into Europe, very difficult right now for obvious reasons, but it's particularly bad for any player who has not been to Western European countries before, not been to many countries outside of Russia. And obviously that is 9 class is the most inexperienced player on this Tundra roster in that regard. And so sadly, he could not secure a visa in time, which means they needed a replacement, and they found one in Saksa, back on Tundra. So if they need a playmaking support to be, do you think that Saksa fits that well enough? Obviously, he's an incredibly talented player, right? Very valuable, fantastic for Tundra to get him. But playstyle wise, do you think he actually fits in to what Tundra? Because Tundra have been cooking, you know, they're not like, you know, quite breaking into the top 3-4, but it feels like they have the potential to be able to have that kind of performance at this TI. They were looking good heading into here, and now they're gonna have Saksa. So how's that gonna go?
So back in the day, my opinion of Saksa was a bit more constrained, I want to say. Like, I felt like he was more of a one-dimensional player. He was a bit more, I think, not as confident as well in terms of himself and what he wanted to do in game, which I think is natural when you're coming up. I think he was always incredibly mechanically skilled. Nobody denied that. But he wasn't as big a shot caller. He wasn't as vocal. He was playing with Misery on those DC stacks, and he was kind of like the 5, right, to Misery's 4. He was a greedier 5, but he was in that. And he didn't really want to play 4 too much at certain points. And eventually, obviously, he found his position in that role and his success in winning TI and all. My opinion now of him has changed a lot. I think he's changed a lot as a player. I think he's just good. Like, I think the guy is just a beast. He does not have many flaws as a 4. He does not have like a shallow hero pool. He doesn't play one-dimensionally. I think if you go and watch the Tundra run at TI11, Singapore TI, like, he played a lot of different stuff and a lot of different styles on the team. He played greedy, like these like Coddle, Rasta type, lane shovers, not those heroes, but he played lane shovers and just got really fat. He played weird niche picks, right? He'll play these support Dragon Knights or Slarks or something, or Bounty Hunters, and do like weird stuff and get away with it. He will play teamfight initiators. We saw, I think the most impressive games I saw to him at that TI were the tiny games, where he was the guy going in and tossing people back, constantly finding the jump, not being afraid to just jump in that fight. To me, that's like, he's developed a lot of his playstyle. And from what I know, talking to those guys, he was very vocal on that team. Like, he was the guy they went to when it was like, what's going wrong in these games, or what went wrong in this scrim or whatever. The final voice they all listened to was that guy. So that, like, to me, this guy has grown a lot. I think he's just fucking good, man. Like, is a guy you want on your team almost no matter what. I don't think you're ever going to be upset having him on that 4 role. I think he will always be productive in game. He will always be a strong laner, and he will always be mechanically good. Like, it's just not many downsides in my opinion. So
I mean, it sounds like to me, like, if you just take away obvious like synergy and history and stuff, it sounds like to me that this is one of the rare times where you go into TI with a stand-in, and maybe this is an upgrade.
Yeah, I mean, I
never think Saksa is held to such high esteem.
I know, like, I think on paper people would take Saksa over 9 class, but I never feel stand-ins are an upgrade in big tournaments, just because team chemistry and play style and the stuff you build around counts for so much. Like, it doesn't really matter if someone's a better player on paper, because you're building a team to use everybody's strengths to make everybody else's strengths better. 9 class could make Topson a better player. 9 class could make Ramses a better player than Saksa could, right? And we won't know. No matter what happens this tournament, we won't know. But we know that they were doing well with 9 class. So you lose that and you have to rebuild it. So I think it's always it's a big question mark. But like I said, I think Saksa's, if you're going to get a stand-in, he is very consistent, very good laner, and plays a wide variety of styles. So in theory, he can work. Maybe the one downside you're concerned about is, like, how well will he mesh with Topson in terms of pure aggression. But you got to remember, like, this is a guy who played with 9, and I think 9 as a mid laner was maybe the most similar mid player we've had in a lot of years to Topson, right? Played like these weird niche mids that were kind of teamfight initiators that weren't the greediest, weren't the ungreediest, like these Tuskar, Coddle, Wyvern, off meta hipster heroes. So if there's a 4 who knows how to play with that stuff, it's probably him too. So it should fit pretty well, I would imagine.
Okay, fair enough. There doesn't seem to be any other news about TI. It seems like everybody else has managed to make it in. All the teams have arrived as of a few hours ago. So it seems like we're just going to have that one stand-in. We do not have the groups yet, though I have a sneaking suspicion perhaps by the time that we put out this podcast, the groups will be announced. So we're not going to be able to talk about the groups in that regard, Avery. But you did give your bottom 4 last week, which was, do you remember? Do you remember your own bottom 4?
I believe it was,
because you changed it.
Beast Coast, Talon, Team Zero, G2IG.
That is correct. That was your
I put
bottom
the 2
4.
Chinese teams. Get fucked, Jack. No faith in China right now.
All right. So,
but I will. Okay, my one exception. Let's have an honest conversation, Austin.
Okay.
my one asterisk on this, because I predicted this last week. I've played a lot more Dota in this last week since those predictions. Been grinding the patch. Saw you grind a little bit as well. Not as much as with the deadlock going on, but like, so I saw you in there with some.
I still have more matches. I'm pretty sure I've played more.
Saw you in there with some games. So
Okay.
I played a lot of games this week. I have a way better feel of the patch right now. We don't know exactly how TI is going to develop. And I think there's still a good chance. There's still a core chunk of this patch, I think, that is like very utility based. Like very Mech Greaves, Solar, Crimson, Yules, Force Staff, like Glimmer. You know, that area's, you need some of those, and they feel incredibly strong.
Yes.
And that's a little different than I think just the full on Aura Death Ball push that we saw at EWC. I think it's going to be tampered down. I think the games are a bit more skirmishy, spellcasty, slower. But I think that does overall favor the Chinese teams. Like, I think the EWC meta was pretty bad for them.
I don't think the opposite of the way the Chinese teams typically want to play.
Yes.
Right.
Like, Chinese teams just want to team fight you, right? They want to do it through like spell casting and going late with usually the slower carries. I think Ame and Monet and this style of modern Chinese carry is slower than the Western ones. They're just slower. They don't fight as much. They don't typically play as fast heroes. Like this Ame guy's playing Faceless Void every other game. Monet's playing Medusas and Drows, right? Like, or Slark. Monet will play Morphling. Like, you'll see Pure or Dyrachyo, someone play Morphling, and they'll be putting up like a triple double. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. This Monet guy plays Morphling. He's putting up a 0-0. I remember there was a game he was Morph, and it was like 50 minutes in, and he's 0-0-0. So these Chinese teams really do not do well in a meta that is dominated by death ball, fast pushing, because they just can't come online. They can't team fight you. And, you know, Baboka's building first item MKB. It's like, whoa, you know, you can't deal with the Grease Crimson at 20 minutes when your forward position sniper hasn't finished his MKB yet. Maybe now he has a bit more time. So that's the one caveat, is I do think this patch should be better for them than the last one, but I still kind of don't have faith in those teams. And I locked those predictions in. So like, I'm going to stand by them, but
okay,
I wouldn't be surprised if the Chinese teams did a little better than they did at EWC, just because if the meta develops in that way based on how I currently feel about the pub meta, then I could see Ame maybe being able to play his style a bit more, you know.
Okay.
A little bit. I'm not saying a huge degree, but like a little.
So for this week, we're not going to go through the entire list, because we're going to record this episode again during the break at TI. So we will already have some of the results. Actually, I guess nobody gets eliminated through groups, but I guess the break day, never mind. We'll already have some of the teams eliminated. So let's do your top 6, because those will be the teams that we will be discussing next week, because I believe it's just the top 6 that will be in playoffs for the arena days. Or maybe it's top 8.
Top 8. Top 6. Okay. How do you have what is it, like the bottom 2 teams in that bracket just get fucked no matter what? Like, they have no one to play, just go lower. That'd be interesting. Yeah, you want to do top 8. Basically, you want to determine who is making up a bracket. That's what you're saying?
Yeah, basically.
Or are you saying top 8 of the entire tournament?
Of the entire tournament.
Oh, okay. So you want to do top 8 of the entire tournament?
Yeah.
All right. Well, Team Spirit, lock them and load them. You know, do I even need to say anything?
So we already had Team Spirit was first. We already settled this last week.
Do you want the order or just top 8?
I want the order.
Dude, order for top 8 order. Like, what is this, man? Nobody gets this shit. You got to be some like NASA scientist with some supercomputer quantum computing these outcomes.
Yeah, so imagine the bragging rights if you get it right.
Oh, okay. I mean, Team Spirit's going to win TI. I'm sorry. Like, I already said this. Third ring, it's going to Toro. He's going to buy another Ferrari. He's going to walk out with his head shaved right before the finals. I don't know who's going to be playing against him, but they're going to be quaking in their boots.
Second place, who's going to be playing against them.
Second place, I'm going to give... I think it's going to be Gaiman, dude. I don't want to curse them with like a second into second at TI, but I feel like it's the most likely outcome, to be honest.
Okay. What because you still feel like the utility items are in, because Gaming Gladiators form is just hot right now. It's going to be another Gaming Gladiators versus Team Spirit finals.
I do. I think they're just better, honestly. Like, okay. I don't think the meta is better for them than it was at EWC.
No.
And I think the offlane hero pool has to be worse for Ace.
Yes.
Like, I don't know what he's necessarily going to play, but I still think they're just better than most teams, and they're more confident. I think confidence counts for a lot at TI.
You think they're better than Falcons? Falcons have been the most consistent team this year, top 3 constantly at all of these LAN events, even though, like EWC did not.
I mean, I would put Falcons third. I would put Falcons third. And I think that you could interchange those two. That's very close. I think the patch is maybe slightly better for Falcons than EWC was for Gaming. But, okay, I go back to the confidence point, which is I think confidence counts for a lot at TI. I think having people that have played through at TI and been successful counts for a lot. And I think if Gaming win
some of those people, you've got Crit, you've got Snaking.
But you also have ATF Maureen. Maureen's never played at a TI.
Neither did Topson.
ATF played at one, and it was like his worst LAN performance. There's some wild cards. That's all I'm saying. Okay. I'm not saying they're going to choke or something. Obviously, they performed well at EWC. It's not like they bombed out, but they didn't win that event either, right? And their play looked a little sus towards the end. Now, maybe it was a meta thing, maybe it was a energy thing, whatever. But I think confidence counts for a lot, and I think Gaming are going to be confident. Like, I don't think these guys give a shit. They've won so much. They won EWC. They have basically nothing left to prove. They got second at TI last year through a destructive lower bracket run. So, like, they know they can win LANs. They know they can win big LANs, and they know they can make lower bracket runs at TI if it comes to it. That's a lot going for you. Like, that's a lot, A lot of teams are going to choke going up against them in a high pressure situation, even if the meta isn't like Ace Underlord. So I have them number 2. Now, are they going to beat Yatoro? No, unfortunately, Yatoro, I mean, the man don't care. He's an assassin. Like, he's an assassin. So unlucky for Quinn. I don't want him to get, I'm rooting for my boy, but he's an American in a world of Europeans, and it's a tough place to be in. So I got that number 2, and I got Falcons 3 because I think Falcons will be podium almost for sure. But I don't know, something about their gameplay is just not clicking for me.
Okay. I think that's fair enough. Who is your 4th place? Because I feel like a lot of people have those names in the top 3. I think 4th place is where things actually start getting interesting because, again, Dota seems very top heavy right now. It would be a big upset if a few other teams break into that top 3.
4th, man. I think Liquid 4th.
Okay, so unsurprisingly, you have the exact same top 4 as me. Just in a different order. I had
wait. Now that you say that, no Liquid top 4. No Liquid top 4. No, I refuse. I actually,
the Liquid hater comes out once again.
I will actually put Tundra with Saksa stand in for it. I will do it. Just because. Just what? Because I just got a message from God, and that's what he told me to do. So
yeah, just to spite Liquid.
Just to spite you. Yes. Okay. I will put Tundra 4th. A miracle stand-in run. Sox is going to do it.
Okay. Does that mean Liquid is 5th, 6th?
Yes, I'll put Liquid 5th, 6th.
Okay.
I think that's an acceptable position for them. And I will put them there with...
While you're thinking about it, for anybody who was wondering, I had my top 4 listed a while ago, and it was Falcons, Spirit, Liquid, Gaming Gladiators were my top 4. And I imagine most people will have those teams just in different order as top 4 because it's really hard to argue against any of them at this point in time.
I mean, you know what the hardest team at this tournament to predict is actually going to be?
Who?
That throws a wrench in all these is Extreme Gaming.
Yes.
Like, they're actually the ultimate wild card this TI. If they win it, people will be like, of course, TI caliber players, TI runner-ups, all-star 4-position Jin-Q that I think everybody understands. As I said a year ago, he's the best player out of China. Like, this team could win it all. They could bomb out. They could be an 8th place forgotten relic. Like, I have no clue. I don't think anybody knows.
To back them up, they did just recently have that performance at the Chinese LAN event where they beat Team Spirit 3-1 in the finals, right? So
yeah, this
they're
better
looking
for
a
them.
little hot right now, even if EWC did not go well for them, right? They play 7th, 8th there.
Yeah, I think the longer tournaments should be better for them. Like, they're a slow team. They take time to figure out the meta and what they want to do. A tournament like TI is good for them compared to something less important, I think. But
yeah, I think the funny thing is that I completely agree with you in saying that, like, if they win TI, people won't be that surprised because they have beat the best teams in best of 5s, right? They beat Spirit, they beat Falcons. Those are, I think, your 2 biggest contenders for, if you're extreme, if you get into the grand finals, those are the 2 teams you're expecting are going to be your opponent sitting there at the end. So, and if it's Gaming Gladiators, well, like, hopefully it's not them because I feel like Gaming Gladiators matchup wise, has been a little tough. I think speed wise, they don't really match up.
I'm gonna bump XG up.
Okay,
I'm gonna bump XG up. I'm gonna put them 4th.
Okay,
and I'm gonna put Tundra Liquid 5th, 6th.
Okay,
and then in the 7th, 8th, it's 1 win.
Yep, I'm with you there. I think 1 win. I believe in that team. I think the rookies going to TI, that part's a little sketchy. But actually, how did all of those guys make it to TI? God damn.
They just got something going. I don't know. They just got something going. Honestly,
I meant visa wise.
Oh yeah, I mean they got it going, man. That's what I'm saying. Now the last team that I'm debating for this 8th slot. Hear me out on this. I actually think it's between Heroic, BB Team, and Nouns. I think it's one of those 3.
BB Team not being in the top 8. That is quite the...
Yeah, but they have looked like they are not on a good trajectory, man. I don't know. I just sense some disgruntlement within that team. Like they're on their way out, I just got that feeling like this is going to be the last tournament we see this roster together.
I mean, I'm sure I completely agree with that. I do believe this roster will probably break up after this TI unless they get a top 3 finish.
But that's the problem. I feel like when you go into TI and everybody has this feeling that like this is the last tournament this roster is going to be at, then you just don't do well because everybody can feel it and they're kind of checked out. They're done. They're like already thinking about what they're going to do next year or who they're going to kick or whatever, So I just don't have faith in them. So I actually will not put them there. I think it's between Nouns and Heroic. I think Heroic has Hector, and that guy is a top 8 TI assassin. He gets to that 8th, and then he goes home. But like that motherfucker gets there, I'll tell you that much. So, but that team has looked atrocious in the last month. So I don't have faith in the team. But like Hector is a TI assassin. He really is. I think Nouns could get there. I think Nouns could beat a team or 2 in a lower bracket situation. And make it there. I mean, there's also this Cloud9 squad, which is not a team to sleep on. Dang, man, this last slot's hard, huh? Well, I feel like when you don't know, you should just go with the European team, so I'm just going to say Cloud9.
Yeah. I think Cloud9 is a good team to back just because, I mean, I think no one, Watson, I think they're both kind of beasts. No one was popping off at EWC, right? So if he has another LAN performance like he did at EWC, I feel like he gets them to top 8. So
yeah, I think it's pretty likely. I feel like when in doubt, just bet on the European team. So,
all right, well, I guess that effectively means we did the entire thing because that leaves Bet Boom, Nouns, Heroic, and Aurora, 9th through 12th. Sticking with that. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That is Avery's entire ranking for TI.
Godspeed.
Put in all of your Oracle predictions with the compendium. Base it off of what Avery just said, or do the exact opposite. Whatever. But that is going to be wrapping up our pre-TI episode. We're going to do another one again while we're there in Copenhagen after the group stage and after the playoffs, where there is a bit of a break before we get to the stadium days. So we will record another episode there and try and get out to you guys before the final 3 days of TI commences. And then we'll do another one post-TI as well. But yeah. Thank you for watching another episode of Not for Broadcasts, except we're going to do questions. Want to do another question here, Avery?
Pick one.
All right. We have a question from just some guy without a Mustang, 6436, who says, just going to ask this quick question. Rikimaru core in Pro Dota win? Haven't seen it in a while. To expand on this, why is Riki not useful compared to other heroes with Invis, Bounty Hunter, Treant? So the reason I chose this question is because we're actually seeing Riki picked a lot in pubs. I'm not sure if you've seen it, but there have been a lot of pros picking Riki lately. So I want to hear your analysis on this hero.
As a straight one, or you're saying
as
Riki in
a core? Yes, that is going. They go the facet that lets them do 4.5 times their backstab damage on creeps. They go Aghanim Scepter, and they farm pretty quickly as a result, and they go the typical, like diffusable aid, yada yada yada.
The hero definitely farms faster. I think that's for sure. Do I have faith in this hero? No. I think the hero still suffers from a lot of problems. I think Invis-based heroes in competitive gameplay are vastly different than pubs. Even if it's performing well in pub, it generally suffers more in competitive. I think the hero's still a bit slow, and I think his ability to join early fights and sway those is pretty low. Like, that's still my biggest issue with the hero. You have to get this Ags, and it's a farming item, and then you have to farm for a damage item, and then you can kind of fight. Like, he has some team fight damage and utility early, but it's not like these metas are fast, man. At 20 minutes, you can be 2 or 2.5 slotted on a carry and like winning your team a fight. You get Roche, and then what's this Riki doing, right? That's the spooky part of the meta for this hero. I think the hero's better than he's been in a long time, and I have seen him in some games, and he's looked okay. I think we will see him at TI. I think some teams will definitely play the Riki. It'll be like, last pick, whatever, and like a perfect Riki game. He'll probably win some of those.
What does a perfect Riki game look like?
It's slower, right? Like you're not getting pushed down. He can dominate the lane. Like, I think this hero with the strong ranged 5 who can play aggressive with blink strikes and abuse his extra regen and stuff to win a lane and get out ahead puts him in a good position. He kind of reminds me of like Marcy, right? Like, he's this super high physical damage hero with solid laning, but if you get kicked out of lane and have to go jungle early or something, you're just garbage. Like, you're just straight trash. So you have to like win the lane. So if people have some lane combos, right, like the IO Marcy is what kind of brought the carry Marcy back because the lane was super strong and it kept her in the lane. If you have stuff like that for Riki, I go back to another example was like, you remember when Puppy started playing the Lich Lone Druid combination?
Yep.
And they were doing that for the Lone Druid players on that team. If people have something like that for Riki, I could see it more. Like this 1-2 punch or a couple of those. I don't know what it is, if it's Lich Riki or Snapfire Riki or whatever the hell. That would make a big difference too. But I think the hero still suffers from some of his same core issues, and there's probably just more attractive heroes. Like, what is Riki going to give you that some of these other heroes don't? That's what you have to ask yourself. That's the big question mark.
Does this hero have any flex potential? Because there was times where Riki was a support, where it was being run as a 4 position. There was also the change to smokescreen, where now it affects, like, you can smokescreen allies and people outside of the smokescreen target that person, and there's evasion.
He is more viable as a support. I've seen some people playing it. I I'm just telling you, man, I've seen a lot of TIs. I've played at TIs. Like, these heroes, they seem good on paper, but when it comes down to the brass tacks, you know what I'm saying? When you got to pay the brass tacks, Austin, people aren't going to pick this shit. The only guy who will is like Jin Q, because that guy is a psychopath. But there's Liquid is not going to pick 4-position Ricky in like a top 4 TI birth game, you know?
Sure.
It's just not going to happen.
In some group stage game, they might.
Yeah,
but
sure.
When
whatever,
the pressure's on, when you need a win.
It's not going to be there, man. It's
not going to Ricky.
People don't have faith. They just don't have faith in the hero from a competitive standpoint. It's been too long, too out of the meta. I go back to so there's this thing that happens with heroes that people don't have faith in, where they get overhauled and it takes a long time for people to rearrange their perspective of a hero. It happened to Techies and it happened to Pudge.
Yeah.
If you remember, both of those heroes basically were never played in competitive, or like they're a cheese pick, Dendy picks it, whatever. And then they get overhauled and they get turned into like an actual hero with real spells, who's just like a normal hero. And now if someone picks Pudge, it's not like, oh, they picked Pudge. It's like, okay, it's a Pudge pick. But that still takes like a year for people to reorient that, you know?
Yeah.
That could happen to Ricky, but that takes time. That's not going to happen overnight. So my faith is low in that, but maybe I'm just a pessimist. I don't know. I think the hero's cool. I think it'd be cool if he was part of the meta. He kind of forces you to play the map a lot different, and he's incredibly obnoxious. But like, is Yatoro going to be playing Ricky in the grand finals? I don't know, man. Is he going to be playing Phantom
There's
Assassin?
no way Yatoro does not want to bend the knee to whatever the meta is. So if the meta suddenly becomes Ricky carry, I don't see that guy doing it out of all the people.
Probably
maybe some weird Duraccio, Mickey, those guys maybe.
Yeah, Mickey would play it.
Mickey would definitely play it.
That could be a good hero for Liquid. Like, that's the one team I could see actually play that hero for real.
Yeah.
If they want to. Because they play it
Boxy
on
would
both
play
roles.
it as well. Because Boxy's also a freak like that. So they would have the flex potential between the two of them.
You know, and then you can have Mickey like dive in the fight and smokescreen Nisha to save his ass, or Boxy, some shit like that. Like, that team likes to play like that, you know?
Yeah.
Just like protect Nisha at all costs. And this Ricky's just like breaking all these smokes. And yeah, that's the one team I could see actually be successful with it. And I think Jin Q will probably play it once, just because, like, I mean, if there's a carry hero that gets played as a support that farms a map, that guy's going to play it and build like first item Wind Waker or something, like that's just his jam. I'm sure Baboko will probably play a game on it, and he'll just forget he's support.
Will just build Diffuse a Blade Hags, farm the entire map.
You'll just see like Brown Boots Divine Rapier Ricky for Baboka, just first item Divine Rapier. He's gonna like try and blink strike the 5 and one shot him.
Yep.
So I don't know. I think we'll see the hero, but I don't think he'll be super mainstream. Which does beg a question. I'll ask you a question, Austin. Bonus content here. If you stuck around after Austin said we were done, we weren't really, and we went up for another 10 minutes. What do you think is going to be the hero of TI? Because I think there's always a hero of TI.
Okay.
Some years I think it's been Tiny. Some years I think it's been IO. There was a Furion year. I think the hero of TI at TI7 was Furion, for example. I think TI6 had, you could do like 2 or 3 too. I think TI6 had like, Timber, Marana, Invoker type pool. Faceless Void. What is the hero?
Heroes of TI are kind of weird because it can't be so overpowered. It can't be so meta, right? Because then it just starts getting banned away.
Or I will allow hero archetype. Because I think, for example, the Singapore TI that Tundra played at, for me, a hero archetype that defined that TI was the Illusion Carry.
Yeah. I'm with you on, so item-wise, right? I'm with you on big utility. I think Solar Crest was clearly one of the best items in the game. It got nerfed a little bit. I think it's still very good. I think Mech is still very good. Greaves is still very good. I'm still kind of feeling the supports that heal. And I think very often supports end up being the hero TI because they're, they sneak through the ban pool, and then you get to see Omni Knight as an example. I think Omni Knight is like pretty toxic right now. I think that hero is actually really annoying.
Tinker?
Chen might be it. I haven't played that Tinker again since it got nerfed, but I'm still seeing it, and it still looks obnoxious, and it still looks kind of overpowered.
I think it is, dude.
I think the barrier still does too much.
I mean, I played against it today, and it felt like the laning in the early game was definitely worse, but it just felt so stupid in the later fights.
Yeah.
I
mean, like it's such a big map. Any supports that can do that, any supports that can like farm, like that's the thing. I feel like these saves, these healing 5s or whatever, I think they're very good. Tinker does that, and he can also play the map and farm and do all those sorts of things, which is
and he's hard to kill.
Yeah,
and the biggest thing that I noticed today is the hero doesn't need to buy boots.
Yeah.
Which is super fucking broken on a support.
That has been broken so many times, right? Weaver support, whenever like Weaver support is a huge thing, a big part of that is the fact that he can go like straight earn without having to go boots, right?
Same with Io. Like Io doesn't need boots, and then he just gets a faster mech, and he's like, to me, it's the same thing with Tinker, right? Like this Tinker can be like the lowest net worth in the game. He literally has like 2K net worth, and he has like mech wand. And you look at him, and you're like, what the fuck? Like he has an item, and I don't. And he's like 1,000 poor. It's because he just doesn't buy. He doesn't need arcane boots. It's just. I think that hero is actually stupidly obnoxious, and I think he becomes a big problem in games. And his laning is not weak enough that you can overcome it super easily. Like it is a liability. You can abuse him there, but it's kind of tough. It's kind of tough.
In which case, the answers to it. Not Tinker specifically, but like general heal stuff. Shadow Demon, Doom, I think are two pretty popular heroes right now that try and deal with that problem. Obviously, Doom deals with the heals. Shadow Demon is like pretty crazy dispel mechanic that helps a lot against all this utility.
I think we're going to see a lot of Tinker. I don't know if he'll be the hero of the tournament, but I think we will see a lot of that hero. I think heals are going to be a big part. I think utility is going to be a big part. Yules, Force, Glimmer, Greaves, to me, are like the top 4 right now. Like, you just spam those. They're insane.
What about Chen? Because Chen is another healer 5 that also farms really well.
Yeah.
And it's also a Gaming Gladiators hero.
I think we'll see Chen for sure. I don't know if he'll be first pick like he was at EWC, for example, but I could see a lot of Chen in like second phase. But I know a lot of teams also don't like to play that hero. Like they rather not play a Chen meta if they don't have to, So I think there'll be a lot of teams that steer away from him.
Other heroes that I've seen popping up, Nature's Prophet core, mid. It's pretty toxic. Gets that fast level 6. Since they changed the Nature's Wrath, it's like guaranteed damage all around the map. There's no chance of your ultimate not hitting. You could do certain mechanical things, like you can stack up Ancients and they get like vision on your Ancients. And then Nature's Wrath, the Ancient stack. So by the time it pops out and starts popping heroes, it's already like 10, 12 units deep. Gets full damage.
That's what you're supposed to do, I think.
Also, Sprout doing damage Sprout is now a nuke is just silly, I feel like.
The hero's definitely strong. He does too much in the first 15 minutes of the game to be ignored, basically, is how I see it. Yep. Like, his ult's too much global damage. His presence is too big. He can still scale as a right clicker, worst case scenario. As a support, he still builds really obnoxious items. His Ags is still really annoying. Yeah, we're going to see that hero a lot. But I don't know if there's going to be a hero of the tournament. Like, that's what I was thinking about today. And I don't know if there's anything that stands out as like, this is going to be the hero we see every game and people are sick of it. It's probably going to be something random and stupid. Like Morphling or something,
Yeah. Morphling support might come back alongside Morphling carry. I don't know. I'm not sure if that's going to work out with the Lena Wind Rangers dominating from the carry position, but either way, I guess we'll just have to wait and see what goes on once the group stage actually kicks off. But for now, we're going to close out the episode. Thank you for watching another episode of Not for Broadcast. Hopefully, we will see you guys there at the International, casting some games. And again, we'll record another episode midway through TI. So thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next time.